What? It's not nagging me for password and verification and everything else. Something's wrong with that. They go, mean you mean my debit card cleared the bank? Okay, yeah, I like it. All right, we have it. Okay, we're finally live. Welcome to the West Central Florida Section Aries meeting for summer 2023. Bill in for NOA is not able to be with us. He's under the weather. And so Randy K4WX, our Assistant Section Emergency Coordinator, will be running the MC in the meeting today. And he said he's going to try to. So just a bit of housekeeping note. Restrooms are out the back door in the back there for those that are here. And also, if you want to speak, please use this. We'll pass it around to anybody that needs it, okay? So that way we can hear the audio on the recording as well as and so forth. So just remember to be sure to get this, otherwise it will not get recorded. So, and thank you very much. I'll put this down right.
Yeah, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, I got a phone call and it turned out to be Bill, who said he is under the weather, can't make the meeting. Could I MC it? So I am emceeing it if I can talk. And I have the agenda, so it's going to be whatever I say comes next. I did not have time to prepare an agenda to pass out or anything, but I do have one in front of me, so I try to keep control on things. I like to go around the room and get introductions, and I will remember your name until the next person gives their name. But if you can give a name, call, and where you're from, and let's just start on the side over here and work our way around. Darrell?
Darrell, which is the middle of the
It is middle of nowhere.
W4PXE, Dave, Section Traffic Manager and AEC for Pinellas County. I'm KT4WX. Timothy, ASS, and President of BCI Communications Tampa. Roger, KT4WX. McElroy, we have KT4WA. KT4WX, Pinellas County. Mike Grit, W81RYQ, and training officer, ATM. Mike Barrett, KT4WX, DC for Pinellas County.
Mine Johnson, into XIC, Public Information Officer for Coastal County areas.
Got K1CHC, EC, Sarasota County. And a 3 all of them did down the road. Dr. Austin, W4CWJ on Sanford, Florida. And I'm saying, David, take this, manager. So real coordination, exercise we put together. And I'll turn it over to Paul.
I'm Paul, NB9X, Assistant Section Manager Digital, and President of the West Central Florida Group, which operates the NI4CEC.
I am Dan, Alpha Bravo 4 Lima November. I am a guest.
I'm Jimmy Russ, AB4AA. Section Manager and just happy to be. Second, Tom Grady, KT4EMT, training officer for Bill Miller, and one CDO,
Okay. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm Randy K4EZM. I'm the guy that UECs and the official emergency stations hear from every month. and you'll hear from me this month, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. We are glad to have this afternoon. Paul is going to do a presentation for us, I assume, Paul. All I was told was Paul will be there, so I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Paul, and you do your thing here.
Okay.
There's an HDMI cable, you said that's not. Hey, there's a VGA cable.
Yeah, but the VGA is for HDMI. That's going to the docking station.
Okay, and that's on the monitor, so that will. From this, would reach. And. No, this is that. Yes, it's that modified HD.
Display for.
DDI, that's what I'm speaking. Now it's the reverse.
HDMI goes in there.
No, that's DDI there, one gender. Opposite gender. That one don't work.
That one doesn't.
No, it's DDI. Wrong gender.
So stop that in there, correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
Is it something that I can put on the county computer? Quickly?
no.
No.
Tell you what we'll do. We will, I don't know how many of you will be able to see this. But one of the things that has been developed, of course, in the last couple of years is a text messaging front end for NXDN. NXDN is not only a great digital audio resource that we have here now in every county in the section, but it's also a messaging resource. So if it can be said in 50 words as opposed to 200 words verbally, we will very soon have a capability to connect your computer to your radio and then out over the air to communicate one hand to another. And thank you very much. And be able to communicate via the written word as opposed to just the spoken word. One of the things I have added to this software very recently is a Skywarn reporting tool. For those of you who are Skywarn certified, some of you have already been authorized to get on the new NWS chat, which will go into effect the 1st of September. You know that you can report directly to the meteorologists at the National Weather Service office in Ruskin, whatever the situation happens to be it a tornado, be it flooding rainfall, be it snow, a 4-letter word here in Florida, but you know, it is a lot of places. The bottom line is when the internet is running, you have the ability to communicate via the internet directly with the lead forecaster at the National Weather Service office. And that's what makes your Skywarn reports so timely, because you're putting them into the hands of somebody who can actually do something with the information. Your report of severe weather very often ends up leading to an advisory, or a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning. During hurricanes, the information is compiled by the National Weather Service. And while in the event of a large scale disaster like we had last fall with Ian, you know, what's going on usually is not going to trigger a new warning, but it will help reinforce the existing warnings that are out there. And as I know Chuck and Sanford found out at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning, what the continuing saga of Ian then spelled out was the need for rapid response in the Hidden River area of Sarasota County, because the massive amount of rainfall that Ian dropped in that area caused a dike to breach and a lot of homes to be flooded and people to be moved. The Skywarn reporting tool that is now included with NXDN Message 3 enables you to look at about 12.5 predefined categories, everything from rainfall to funnel clouds to tornadoes to dense fog to wildfires, because in a drought, a wildfire can be even more devastating than flooding in a rain event. And then there's also the other category in case it's something that the Weather Service folks need to know, but doesn't necessarily fit into a predefined category. So yes, there is an other. It enables you to get very specific about where the event took place. The tool contains a field with 15 predefined counties for our county warning area. So by putting that in, you've immediately told the meteorologist at the Weather Service, this is happening in Hillsborough County or Pinellas County or Highlands County or Sarasota County. And then thereafter, you can get even more detail. You can get right down to giving somebody an address if you want to, or simply be a little more generic and say this is going on in Osprey or Lake Placid or Seminole. There is also a freestyle text field where you can write in the detail. So if you're reporting dime-sized hail, the main category is hail, but then you can say dime-sized hail, this location at this time, or quarter-sized hail. Please, again, I will remind you, and I don't know how many times I've said this over the past number of years, do not report hail as marble-sized hail, because everybody's marbles are a little different. And that will drive the meteorologist, you know, a little bit wacky. One of the other things that is also built into the reporting form and is part of the underlying settings for the program is your Skywarn ID or your ham radio call sign. So when you come up on the field that says your spotter ID, you simply hit the tab key and it automatically autofills that field. That will save time. It will also make the whole reporting process a lot more consistent. The window that I have open right now is what not only the meteorologist will see, but if you've got this running on your desktop, you'll see it too. You'll see the reports as they have been filed. And if that window isn't open, when you hit the send button on your report, the receipt of that report automatically pops that window. It will be in your face. So know that when you send a report, even if that window isn't open, it will automatically pop it open. It will fill a row of data. And at the end of the day, all of that data is saved in a data container. And if you need to look at yesterday's data or the data from a week ago or the data from a month ago, you have the ability to do that. So it's not only a real-time tool, but it also keeps a historical record. I'm looking forward to getting this out into the field, get our Skywarn spotter community as well as our EOCs, our Aries folks involved and more involved with reporting severe weather events. Because I can guarantee you, while most of the disasters we experience here in West Central Florida are weather related, they don't have to be. And any kind of an event that should be precipitated and we be the recipient of, weather is going to play a significant factor. And even after the main storm is gone, look at how many reports of damage, flooding, all kinds of other mayhem that was going on even after Ian was already out over the Atlantic and a long way from our neighborhood. It persisted and persisted and persisted. And oh, by the way, there's also a field in here or a category called utilities, because one of the things that any kind of a large scale disaster is going to precipitate: power outages, internet outages, telephone outages, cable TV outages. And in fact, one of the motivations for putting this tool together is that if the Weather Service loses the internet, well, that's going to take NWS chat right to its knees. It doesn't have to. We now will have a reporting tool that will enable the conversation and the flow of information to continue, internet or not. You had a question. That's about to be released. Absolutely. Let me disconnect the cable. There you go. No, it's actually September 1. And it's been updated. Because I had asked the question 2 weeks ago, and well, it's here, but it's officially not going into effect. And it actually works right now. So if you're yeah, okay. Well, it works now too. So if you haven't, if you're authorized, you haven't signed in, or you haven't gotten practiced with it, you can. Well, it is what it is. We don't write them, we just read them.
They're
Okay. Well, and actually, it's not a bad thing that it's going into effect August 1st, because August 1st, we're still relatively low level on the hurricane. September 1st, we start ramping up. And that's not a good time to start a new software. Anyhow, this is yet one more use for NXDN in the West Central Florida section, in addition to the crisp, clear voice that some of you at least have experienced already, and I hope more of you will. This adds one more tool to the toolbox to help all of us not only be ready, be prepared, but to actually help people when they need it the most. Yes, Jimmy. Haven't planned on that at this point, but it's on a Windows platform, so it may not necessarily work on your phone, but if you've got a tablet, it may very well already work on that. And what do you need? You need some sort of a Windows device, be it a laptop, a desktop, a tablet, and you need a radio that's capable of sending the data. That's it. I did have a chance to show Dan Noah this on Thursday. It knocked Dan's socks off. He thought it was really, really good. And Dan is now also pursuing this matter with his higher ups at regional, so that it's entirely possible this could end up going throughout the region, even national. So, yes, Sanford. Hang on just a second. Let me put that down.
That's the program.
Primary, I'm the primary author on this, but one of our ECs from Charlotte County, Tom Vance, K9XV, also is a software developer professionally, but has been working on the code for NX Core. And we've made some significant improvements. Help NX Core be a very stable platform, give us the kinds of metrics that we need in order to do any troubleshooting that may be required. And coming soon, when Tom gets back from his European vacation, one of the things that we will be reintroducing, but on a filtered basis, is the ability for people outside of West Central Florida, for instance, our snowbirds, to be able to come into the NXDN network from a hotspot from New Hampshire, from Wisconsin, from Arizona, wherever they may happen to be. We've built a white list, or we are building a white list, and that will allow that need to communicate with West Central Florida. People from West Central Florida who need to communicate outside the area with each other with the NI4CE and XDN network. It's not going to be the free for all that it had been several months ago. That will be additional communications. Yes, John. I'm going to come back to answer your question.
As we saw when we did high and dry, and we had the light area. And we had all of these hopefully very decent. Everybody was on board with it, that it's one of these tactical nets that would take another step out of the great weather conditions already.
We set up a specifically more Skywarn, and in fact, there is a foot chuck not only working in Ruskin, but there are several other National Weather Service forecast office here in Florida, which already is within the sphere of the network, and that being the Melbourne office. And so there will be a separate talk group set up for each one of these offices, so that you don't have, somebody putting something out that goes over the entire state. It will be directed specifically at the office that it needs to be directed to. The program is designed so that you can send messages on one of these tactical talk groups. It's just a matter of including that in your setup. But when the message needs to go to the Weather Service, it will automatically go to that predefined talk group, which in this case is 1299. Now, let me amplify on something too. And even though this doesn't affect West Central Florida, we have a very unique situation here in the Sunshine State with a very large community to the north of us. It's called the Villages. Whoever developed the Villages apparently was not aware that by putting that large mass of people over 3 counties had a very unintended effect. Because Marion County, which is the north, is part of the Jacksonville County warning area. Lake County, which is to the southeast, is part of the Melbourne County warning area. And Sumter County's portion of the Villages is part of the Ruskin County warning area.
if there is a severe weather event, and there have been, in fact, there was earlier this year, where there needed to be a severe thunderstorm warning for all 3 counties, no one National Weather Service office can issue that. It has to be issued by each of those 3 offices. One of the things that we're working on is trying to get NXDN into the villages so that the Skywarn folks there can report to their specific office as needed. And I think this would be a big step forward. This, by the way, is unique in the United States. There is no other area where you've got a large concentration of people that are spread out over that many offices. And one other point to make about Skywarn. It hasn't been invoked any time, at least in the 25 years that I've lived here. But had Hurricane Charlie come 70 miles further north and come up Tampa Bay as opposed to Charlotte Harbor in 2004, or had Ian come further north and come up into the area, that probably would have precipitated the Weather Service office in Ruskin being shut down. Or had Hurricane Nicole last fall been a stronger hurricane and caused the shutdown of the Melbourne office, well, that could have opened up a situation. The Weather Service itself has a contingency for that. If Ruskin has to be closed down, Melbourne then takes jurisdiction over the entire west or central Florida part of the peninsula, essentially the I-4 corridor, north and south. If Melbourne has to be shut down, Ruskin then takes responsibility for central Florida. It's a backup contingency. I don't know that it ever has been established, but the fact that we now have an amateur radio network that covers both offices is a big plus. So, any questions about what I presented this afternoon? Yes, Chuck.
What's the mechanics of connecting the NXDN radios to the computer to be able to send these messages? Is it done Bluetooth? Is it done with cable? How's it?
All of the above. In the case today, I brought a USB cable because of the radio I was using. This radio, which is an ICOM F4400 DS, and it has a big brother called the DT, which Darrell will have his in the near future, also has a Bluetooth component to it. So it's possible to do it either way. And if the radio has a 25-pin connector on the rear of it, it's also capable of being connected that way. So depends upon the radio you have, and it's, and how it up. Not all of them. Some of the entry-level radios just simply cannot. They can receive messages, but they can't transmit the message. Well, we're working on that right now, and by the time we get done with that, you'll likely have a Bluetooth capability with that. So the hooks are there. They just they need a little more refinement.
Maybe thinking about it besides me. Wow, this is going to make the microphone warp. We had talked about previously, yes, and others were not aware of our conversations we've had on the radio, so it's not a secret, about the possibility of using the transparent data feature to exchange like small PDF files, Word files. It don't matter as long as it's small. I know you've been busy with other things. I didn't know if you had a chance to look into that anymore or not. And others might be interested to know what we talked about.
Well, in fact, the transparent data mode of the radio, Darrell, acts much the same way that a regular radio would, as if you were sending AX25 packet. It's using the NXDN transport to do it, and it can operate at 9600 baud. So if you need to send a PDF file, a small image or whatever, yes, you can do it. The other thing that is also interesting with transparent data mode is it is a serial connection, and you can actually remotely control a serial device using transparent data mode. So if you've got, say, a keyboard over here or some type of a switch, and you've got something over here, you can use the transparent data mode transport from this device to control this device over here. And in fact, I have a customer in Chicago that is doing just that. It's RS-232. Yeah. Okay. Will do. Any other questions? Well, thank you for allowing me to enlighten you, bore you, whatever applies. I'm really excited about this because this has the capability of taking Skywarn to a different level. We've already seen the impact of NXDN with some of our operations last fall. And one other point, which Sanford experienced firsthand about a month ago, the resiliency of the network. We lost a repeater about 4 weeks ago due to a lightning strike. It will likely come back this week, but that happened to be the repeater that was closest to an event that Sanford and Chuck were at out in very rural Hardee County. Not only with that repeater down, and if that repeater had been up, they would have had connectivity to it and the entire NXDN network, without even thinking about it. But that repeater wasn't there. They still needed to operate. So they looked around. They could get into Boyette. They could get into Bartow. They got into the Charlotte North repeater. And had Verna been on the air at that point, and this lightning event had happened just before then, they would have had 4 different repeaters that they could have accessed the network on. There is overlap here in the Tampa Bay area. You've got 3 high-level repeaters with overlap coverage, and actually 4 since Bartow went on the air. The network is designed to be resilient. Randy, I'll turn this microphone back over to you. Thank you all.
I can't talk without moving my hands, so I'm gonna get this. No, I'm not. Yep. Maybe I will hold it. Next thing on my agenda is reports from the counties, and I'm going to go down the alphabetical list, and hopefully there will be a representative from each county here. So let's begin with Charlotte County. Anything from Charlotte County? No. It's not picking it up.
No, this so people in here.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear me now too. Thank you. Okay, reports from counties, and I asked about Charlotte County, and I did not get a response. Right? Okay. Let me flip a page over because I'm not going to remember the counties. Yes. Okay. DeSoto,
Randy, if I might, the same day that Sanford was at the experimental farm in Hardy County, Tom Chance and Dwayne Hunt were running an emergency exercise in Charlotte. There was cross communication there. It proved to be a very successful exercise and has set the stage for things that are moving forward in that county. So that happened on June 29th.
okay, thank you, Paul. Hardee County? Yeah, please.
I'll set the example. No, just use this, and I promise to put it back on you. It was something, I think the way that 2.4 on these, it was causing this one to not work right, and I got to investigate why. Our section manager and myself, W4MDD and myself, went to a state agricultural response team meeting at the invitation of W4CWJ. He invited us. We went to it and attended it on Tuesday. Very informative meeting about what the state agricultural response team does. We had an inkling what they did before, but now we have a much better idea of what they do. So I know why Chuck is so busy between that and the Sarasota Agricultural Recovery Group. So it was good to see Amalia and Danielle DeLeon again. She worked in the EOC during Ian and Nicole, but she's now an emergency management planner. And the latest update I have is they actually, according to the Herald Advocate, which is the local newspaper down there, they got a $9 million grant to build a new EOC. That's what we read in the newspaper. So hopefully that's going to, and I actually saw the floor plans for the new EOC during Hurricane Ian. County manager showed them to me. It's a very impressive facility. It's going to be quite nice one. And I think now they got the money to start construction. So hopefully in another year or two, we will no longer be in lockdown when we operate. We're going to be next to the phone bank because I had time and things were slow at that moment. And I got to see the floor plans. So other than that, we're just, Mike and I are waiting in case at the moment it's just the two of us. We're waiting just in case we're called, and hopefully we won't be, but if so, we'll be there for them, do what we have to do. But other than that, we're still doing our weekly nets every week and just keeping things going. That's about it for what's going on in Hardee County at the moment. And yes, sir. Really? It's nice. I'm glad you told me. Exactly. And I'm glad somebody told me.
Yeah, the 911, sorry, the other safety complex, they are working on putting the grant in. They're going to get one 400 and one 250 towers. They're going to put up a new simulcast system with new shelters to get off the current site that they're on, which is a big site that has that.
Down in Awful Springs.
Yeah.
EMCI. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is very much, it's very, very low ground down there, just south of Zolfo. Yeah. When during Ian, I suspect it was probably about this deep in water. Yep, I believe it because, yep, it's a fishbowl. All right. Well, anyway, I'll turn this mic back to Ray. There you go.
Okay. After Hardee is, guess what? Actually, yeah, Highlands is after Hyde. Highlands County, a number of things are going on. The biggest one is we are going to have an expansion project done on the EOC. If you've been in our EOC, you know it's kind of cramped. They are expanding to the south, knocking out the south wall, which was designed to be done, knocking entrances into the new area. The current bunk room will become a hallway. The current war room becomes a bunk room. They are greatly expanding the sleeping space available. My favorite place to sleep, though, is still under the desk in the ESF2 room. I hope I can still pull that one off. I'm just more comfortable there. As part of that project, we initially had turned in a request for new equipment because I was told they were operating under a grant that they knew they were going to get. And they wanted a list of equipment from us to see if that could be included in that grant. That's still underway. And you know, these things can go on forever. I was told, don't expect anything for at least a year to hear anything. So after working on that list, we were in conversation with our emergency manager, who is now Corey Amundson, who had been the planning person at the EOC. Corey informed us that he wants all new equipment in the radio room, everything. He said, I am not going to move any old equipment into that room. We will have a new room. It will be exclusively ESF2, and you know how that works. Until they need some space for somebody else, and then they'll put them in there with us. But so I redid an equipment list, including NXDN. We hope to be able to get that equipment, as well as some other equipment, including and I'll talk about this a little bit more at another point in this, but we're working on a collaboration with the GMRS group in Highlands County. They can serve as our eyes and ears in areas where we don't have eyes and ears available. One of the heads of the whole GMRS activity in Highlands County is duly licensed as an amateur in GMRS, and he will serve as my Aries liaison person with that group. So that is being worked on. Part of the new deal will be hopefully a tower exclusively for the amateur radio antennas. We're not sure how this is going to work out. We're negotiating with Corey and others on that project. I had something else in mind here, or I may have gotten everything. I've been busier than a one-armed paper hanger doing request for equipment, and if you've ever done that, you know it's 3 bids. And Paul, they still insist, even with your setup, that got to be 3 bids. So we're working on that, trying to get that list into Corey's hands at this time. I have reworked my Aries membership list and eliminated some of the dead, shall we say dead, people, dead in the sense that they haven't shown any interest in Aries for some time. So we're just dropping them off the list. I'm like all ECs, I need people. And I've already told Corey, when we go active, first thing you're going to get from me is a piece of paper saying I need X number of operators, depending on the number of shelters we open. We've got that same problem as everyone else does. When we get to announcements, I'll have a couple of other things about Highlands County, things that we are doing. So I'll hold those for an announcement time. Hillsborough?
Good afternoon again. Hillsborough, we've got a lot going on. As I said earlier, we've got classes in here today with us. Their second day will be August 7th or something like that. I forget right now. And they'll get tested that day. After Ian, we had 2 AARs we're addressing. One of them is we don't get enough people to do all of our shelters, just like you were saying, Randy. We only have 60 shelters, so it's a little bit of a problem. What the county did is they changed our priorities. They have a concern that the 800 system could go down. Well, there's so many places in the county where if a microwave dish twisted or a repeater went down. So what we've done is we're training. We've got 8 battalions. We've got 8 to 10 hams, I forget right now, that are going to get trained by the 911 center on emergency communications. That way, if the dispatcher looks at the ham and says ABC 123 station 12, the person understands it and can regurgitate it quicker. So we're going to train all those. We're going to put stations in all the battalion chief stations. We're going to put 2 radios and have 2 people semi-designated to go into the 911 center here. And the reason for 2 is depending on the number of calls, the county is set up to break East County and West County. So we want the operators in there to be able to do the same thing. So that's one project we've got going. And yes, we're going to buy all new equipment for that. The other one we've got going, because we can't staff all of the shelters, is our first priority is the special needs shelters. So we're reworking the go kits for those. We do have a new tower coming at our alternate EOC, and it's going up strictly for amateur radio at this point. I'm looking right now about putting a repeater on it. It's about 12 miles due east of us in Valrico. So, and then almost every weekend now through the end of the year, we've got some sort of class going on here, whether it's new ham classes or we're teaching skills. I know we're going to do a WinLink class coming up. So our group is very busy to try to address the shortage of people.
Yeah.
I'm going to our GIS group and I'm going to have them pull all of the zip codes that are in the evacuation areas. And I'm going to do a joint letter with the EM director. Hey, since you're in an evacuation zone, well, we're going to pull all the hams in those zip codes. You're in an evacuation zone, you're an amateur operator. How about helping us out and we'll guarantee you a place in one of the shelters. So that's one way we're going to try to address it. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've had people telling me anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 amateur operators in Hillsborough County. The problem is the southern half of Hillsborough County is almost completely retired people. And there's people down there that won't deploy unless they can go in their go-kart. Okay, so it's something that we have to try to balance out. I did add somebody recently to my staff. You may hear from him if we're doing things together. Tom Grace is my new planning lead. He's got a background in emergency management in the medical fields. So while it's different, the concepts are the same and he's doing wonders for us. And that's about where we're at.
All right, thank you. I might note, you mentioned retired people. When I became EC in Highlands County in 2005, one of the wisest things I did was establish good working relationship with a man named Bob Meyer. Bob is WA0NZI and has served faithfully as our special needs operator. Bob is 94 years old now. And he said, I need to retire. I can't do it anymore. But he did it up to age 93. He was there serving. He still is on my Aries council. And I told him, you can't quit that. I need your mind. And he's still got a sharp mind. So those retired people can be useful. Manatee County. Anyone for Manatee? Pasco? Pinellas?
Yeah. Okay, what we've got going on in Pinellas right now, we just had a decision package that was released to us. It works out to right in the neighborhood of about 20K. That what we're doing is all of the shelter radios that we have currently, we're replacing them with new models and also including the digital radio adapters so that all of the shelters, all 30 of them that we're going to be putting in, will be WinLink and digital capable. We're also, as part of that decision package, replacing all of the current antennas on top of the roof of the EOC and also including a folded dipole this time so that we have a horizontal. So we're don't have all verticals there. And other than that, we're doing a lot of training. We've got Mike, our training officer. He does on our nets each week. He does our training net, and then we also have weekly, we have the, Mike, the Windlink training that we have going on that if anyone's interested in joining in, you can hit our repeater. Feel free to join in on it. And you said you got announcements later, right?
I've got announcements later. Yeah.
Okay.
Coming up right after this, I think, if I'm remembering my schedule right. Polk County. And Sarasota.
Good afternoon. This is my first meeting. I was appointed back in January, so I was not prepared to give a report. So this one's going to be off the top of my head. We'll see how it goes. We got a lot of initiatives going in Sarasota County. We just started an initiative with the CERT teams. It's still in the planning stages, but what we're trying to do is get the CERT teams. We're not telling them how to communicate within their communities, but once they get outside the gates, we want to use ham radio operators to report to us at our, what we call Redcom. We're very fortunate in Sarasota that our communications facility is located within the Red Cross. We have our own room, great equipment, and they're excellent partners for us. But obviously the EOC cannot take reports from 40, 50 certs. So depending on the span of control, we'll get that narrowed down. So we're getting reports, and then we will forward those over to the EOC. We recently converted. We put in all new repeaters about a couple of years ago, all ICOM commercials that came NXDN ready. So what we've done is, as of about, well, July 4th, we separated 2 of our linked UHF repeaters. One is still analog, and now one is turned over and is part of the NX Core NXDN, which Sanford and Chuck used NXDN extensively during Ian. Anyway, the other one will stay analog. We also just put up Echo Link on our main workhorse 2-meter repeaters, what we call SAR 1 and SAR 2, both located in very good coverage. They give us great coverage for the county. Let's see, the other thing, we're still trying to get more people involved. The Red Cross, we met with them. They have actually now created a category for us. We are now referred to as amateur radio regional. So all of the times that we put in volunteering at the Red Cross, we're there every Tuesday, that can all count toward Red Cross volunteer time. They're an excellent partner for us. Next Saturday, we're going to break out the Go kits, and one of our served agencies is the 4 Sarasota Memorial Hospital facilities. We're going to go out and play radio for an hour or so in the morning, just set up the Go kits and Go boxes, I should say, and establish comms from each of those 4 facilities. We had a problem during Ian in that we were unable to maintain or meet our MOU with the hospitals. At that time, they were only allowing the radio operators into their facility. And very few people wanted to leave their spouses at home. So that became a big stumbling block. We met with the hospitals, and the hospitals changed their mind. And we now can have spouses go with the radio operators to the hospital. The hospital also has pet shelters, so they can bring Fido with them when they deploy. So hopefully that's going to make a big difference. We're going to meet with them this week as well, because we want to ensure that nobody's going to be sleeping on the floor and have to bring their own bag lunch, that the hospitals will support us in that fashion. So we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm kind of a new guy in the room here. My background is as emergency management director for a community up in Massachusetts. So it just seemed logical that I'd keep doing stuff like that down here. So anyway, I'll have a better prepared report next month or next quarter, whatever. But Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for putting that background to work in amateur radio. All right, that's it for covering the counties, unless there's a comment, extra comment or question or something from someone. So announcements, and is Bill with us, Darrell? Is he here? Because I understand he had something for us. No? Is Bill with us?
I'm here, Randy.
Okay, he's here. Bill, what did you have for us?
Nothing right now. I'm being held prisoner by COVID here in the house, so I haven't been done anything active. I've been sitting here sucking on ice all afternoon. But the only thing that I did do is I really appreciate you being able to jump in at the drop of a hat. That is really nice. And I should be shaking this thing off. I'm in my third day of treatment for it, and they say after 5 days it'll go away. And I'm looking forward for it to go away. So, other than my personal problems, thank you for what you've done, Randy. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for what you've done and are doing. We appreciate it. Let me make a couple of announcements relative to Highlands County. One, I am being asked every time I go on, when I show up on the Eagle Net or on the Aries Net and Sanford is there, Randy, when are you going to have another 10-meter net? We are having a 10-meter net this coming Wednesday night. It will be the 27th, if I'm thinking correctly on dates, at 8 o'clock. Highlands County Aries will be conducting a 10-meter net on 28.400. If there is QRM there, if somebody's got the frequency occupied, we will move upward. So if you don't hear us right there on 28.4, tune up a little bit and see if we've had to move up some. This Wednesday night for that net, among other things that I'm going to do, I'm going to have both vertical and horizontal polarization available and do some switching around just to see what happens relative to other people. So that activity this coming Wednesday night. I would also remind official emergency stations and emergency coordinators, it is getting close to the end of the month. It's time to start thinking about that report. Check on the website for the section. That's under, Darrell, help me out here. The report form is under
Section website under section files and forms. And we like to report down, I think.
about third down, if I'm remembering correctly. Fill that form in, click submit, and a report will come to me that you have done that. I compile those reports. A copy goes to Darrell, to Bill, and to Mike. I also send a report on a special form to league headquarters. So that information does get disseminated to people, particularly league headquarters emphasizes this is the way they work with other groups like Red Cross and others to be able to say, here's what areas people are doing and official emergency stations. Gives them some information to help justify the presence of amateur radio. So those are very useful for them. Okay, somebody else said something about announcements. Was that you?
Yeah. Can we do it there, or I can just shout it out? Basically, I am the all of you that know Dave Byram. Dave Byram is the AUXC coordinator to the state for all auxiliary communicators. And I am the AUXC for Region 4 and Region 6. And I just wanted to pass on, if anyone is interested in the AUXCOM class, there is one taking place at Walton County EOC. It's up in the Panhandle, September 15th, 16th, and 17th. And then because both Dave and I are now credentialed instructors for this region, we're looking at probably having one in our area so we don't have to travel either north or over to the East Coast or down south. We're looking at getting one in our local region, probably the latter part of this year, maybe November, December time, for anybody that's interested in becoming Oxcom credentialed.
Thank you for that. And I'm gonna have to brush up on my FEMA courses, catch up on them.
That is a requirement.
Some of mine are, I said 2005, some of them date back to that point. So they need to be updated, very much so. Any other people with announcements? All right. We should make sure. Okay, next thing on my agenda is what I chose to call open mic time. Time for comments, questions, things that you might have to share. Let me make a couple of comments on something. This is a little bit old, but a little bit of a sore point with me. The article on QST on Eon. And I forgot the name of the person who does those. I talked with him 3 times to make a correction in his reporting on Highlands County. He had Bob Meyer, who I mentioned earlier, operating out of his mobile station, his mobile setup in his car to run special needs communication, which was not correct. He also had Bob doing a couple of other things that were not correct, and I tried to correct those. I finally just threw up my hands and said, print it the way you've got it and forget it. And that's the way it appeared. So be careful what you read and how things get reported. And I think we're all aware of that. Still a little bit of a sore point with me that QST couldn't get information correct on that. Comments, questions on anything? The floor is open. Everyone wants to go home, don't you? All right. I have nothing further except for seeing if we can come up with some idea of time and place for our next meeting. I know it was mentioned that people like coming here. It's a problem for me, but I can get Darrell to bring me. I don't drive that amount of distance anymore, or you'll find me creamed into a tree or a telephone pole after I go to sleep. So I'd like to have one over in the eastern part of the county, but I can ride with Darrell. Any preferences from anyone else about time, place? I know it's in October. I'm not sure an exact date. Will the new EOC be open or operational? No. Bill has said, I have asked for people to volunteer. I'm in a position right now where I cannot volunteer because I don't know what the building situation is going to be for us. So.
And Melbourne is the 12th, 13th, and probably the 20th or the 6th. 20th probably.
October 20th.
Yeah, that'd be.
All right. All right. Bill, does October the 20th work with your schedule? Are you still there? Yes.
There we go. No, I just unmuted my microphone. Usually I'm happier with the last Saturday, but if everybody's good with it, I'm good with it also.
Okay. Then we'll say October the 20th. And my assumption, yes. Oh, 21st. Okay. I took Darrell's. You do know the way home better than you know your dates, I hope. Yes. Okay. So October the 21st for our next meeting, and probably here, if that's.
Check with the other bill. Make sure the other bill is good with that.
The other bill. That work? We'll leave it open and you'll get notification about it. Okay. Is there anything else that anyone has to present? I do have one. Yes.
Good.
All right.
I'm the, assistant section manager, the new position for public safety liaison. Let me just tell you what we're doing. We are trying a pilot program in a couple of counties. We're looking for sleeper cells, the wrong kind of sleeper cells you're thinking. We're looking for ham radio operators, licensed ham radio operators that are in public safety that have never done anything with it, because that's our door into that agency.
Mhm.
So if you have any contacts that I can get into any agency, let me know. So far, we found 14 licensed ham in one county that nobody even knew that they were existent there, that are inside these agencies. Those are inside contacts that we perfectly need. So if you can get me into your agency, whether it be fire, police, local police, or whatever, I'd sure like the name so I can get into that agency. And then it'll just transfer for more things that we want to do down the road with that contact.
All right, thank you.
Already in our, that's maybe.
Darrell?
I'm gonna go. You do hand things, announce it while you're up there.
Yeah.
President.
Well, the Lake Wales Club, to let you know, we do something kind of unusual. It's a play on words. We'd love to have you come. We don't care what club you're from or what organization you're from, but we do a QRP. It is a relative term. It's not really a QRP. We do set up stations, but we target technicians and teach them things. But what we do in October is called Ham and Beans. We have ham radio in the morning, and then we have beans in the afternoon. We bring the family so they can see what we're doing. They've exposed them to ham radio. So if you want to be a part of Ham and Beans, just look, we'll put that on the league website. We'd love to have it. It's a good time. We have some pretty good chili and we have some pretty good beans.
I was going to also announce and remind really more of the fact that we do have nets for Aries in this section. Monday nights on the NI4CE system at 7:30. The introductory time is specifically for official emergency stations and emergency coordinators, and then it's thrown open for anyone who would like to join. But that's Monday night, 7:30. On Saturday morning at 7:30 or after the Florida phone traffic net, whichever comes later. Today they went into like 7:45 or something, but we didn't have a net anyway. But that net on 3.940 megahertz, upper sideband, of course, or lower sideband, excuse me. Every Saturday morning, I am running the net 3 Saturdays. Bill is taking the third Saturday of the month. I am very open to anyone who would like to get some experience as net control. I'll be glad to turn a Saturday over to you and let you give it a shot. It is a time for anyone to check in who's at all interested in Aries. It's not just emergency coordinators or official emergency stations. Anyone who's interested in emergency communications. There is also, following our net at 7:45, there is a net that meets Monday through Saturday. It is a combined net for West Central Florida and the southern section, the South Florida section. That net is has been a very active group. They've gone up to 45 or more contacts. We do have some counties in our section who very rarely check in, if ever. I'm not going to name names, but you can. We'd be glad to have you join in on that. And let me encourage all of you. And I am really pushing this with my Aries members and all the people in Highlands County, all the hams who are saying, I'm ready for an emergency. My answer to them has become, are you really ready for an emergency? Well, yes, I have a generator, I have batteries, etc. I look at them and I say, do you know how to handle a piece of traffic, a message? And they look at me like, huh? What do you mean? If I have it in my hand, I'll hand them the radiogram. Do you know what to do with this? Are you really ready for an emergency? And what I'm leading to is all of us should have at least some activity on traffic nets. I am checking into the Florida Phone Traffic Net every morning that I possibly can as a guest. I'm too busy to become a full-time member of that. I have learned a lot doing that. I should be more on the Eagle Net than I am, and I apologize for not showing up more there. But get some experience at handling traffic. A large part of what we're going to end up doing after the storm has come through is handling messages, handling traffic. You can do it all the better if you have done it several times and are experienced at it. Darrell, did I see your hand? Was that?
I'm on the roll call, Florida Phone Traffic Net, and I handle traffic. I'm a member, I'm on for one reason, practice. Need to practice my equipment, I practice things. Because it keeps your skills sharp.
Yeah.
And so that's the primary reason I do it. Yes, Frank?
And I run into too many people who say, well, those messages are just silly or something, you know, greetings to amateur, welcome to amateur radio, etc. It's still practice in handling a message. That's why they're doing it. Yes.
Randy, I'll just clear up one thing. The Aries Net is on Monday night on the NI4 TV system at 7:30, like you said, but it is on the NI4 TV system. So
yeah.
Anybody in North Central Florida wants to check in on the general roll call can, and there's not many places that, although the radio station, Darrell says that there's not many places to go and reach Sunday show. So the NI4 TV system will. Anybody wants to check into that, how do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And
traffic handling. Dave, you want to say something about it, or you want me to say something about it? I can. Okay. If I can get up there. Oh, man.
Didn't mow your own lawn. For those of you that don't know, I'm the section traffic manager. And I am planning sometime this fall. It may be as late as the Tampa Bay Ham Fest. I will be running a traffic handling class. And then we will take a segment on the NI4CE after EagleNet. And everybody will act. To get your certificate, you'll have to send me a radiogram properly. So we will announce that more on the Aries Net as we put it together.
Sure.
And if you ever have any questions on traffic, please reach out to me. W4PXE@ARRL.net.
And if you want to hear a master at handling traffic, listen to the Florida Phone Traffic Net and Helen, WC4FSU. She is a master at this. Very, very good place to learn some things. She occasionally does series of training sessions as part of her net. She is the manager for that, for the Florida Phone Traffic Net, and has been for a number of years. A good place to do some learning. If you don't check in, listen. Yes. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
A question for everybody. Anybody having problems using the AWR border? I get email bounce back to people.
I occasionally have a problem, but most of the time.
Yeah. The Paul says too high of the phone.
Mine mainly seem to be if an attachment is involved. Most of the ones I've noticed, and they've been few and far between. So, and I keep thinking of other things I'm going to throw in here. Any of the ECs here in particular, particularly the ECs, but anybody else that might have some activity involving a relationship with a group like GMRS, I would like to talk to you about how you have worked things out, how well that works for you. As I said, we're in the incipient stage on this. We're putting it together. And I would love to talk to a couple of people who have some experience at doing that. Yes.
Kings Point down in Sun City Center is one of the senior developments, 55+ community. What they've done is they've gone out and purchased a bunch of FRS radios. And they've sold them to the residents in the facility. And they have a number of hams, I think about 6 or 8 right now, that are also GMRS licensed. For those that don't realize it, FRS and GMRS use all the same frequencies except the GMRS antenna repeaters. The biggest difference is some restrictions on the FRS radios. So what they do, and they do this every Wednesday, and they'll do it in an emergency, is at the radio room in Kings Point, they start up the net over GMRS. Their users out in the field, residents out in the field will call back into it. If they can't be heard at the radio room, that's where all of the ham/GMRS, they call them listeners out around the community, they will pick it up and turn it back in. And it's working real well. In 3 years, they've grown to just over 400 residents that have gotten into the system. And they exercise it every week.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear that is working as a very viable.
Well, one thing
So,
that you got to be careful of. They keep saying, well, we need this frequency assigned to us. FRS and GMRS, you can't get frequencies assigned like we do for repeaters and amateur radio. The other thing is to be on GMRS, you have to have a license. And GMRS no longer issues licenses to organizations or companies or anything. So that means every individual on GMRS has to have a license unless they are all into one household. One household can use the same license.
okay.
So that's a big gotcha.
So one of the things I was going to check on was whether the EOC could get a license, and they can't.
No.
You're saying, okay.
Well,
Sir,
I have a GMRS license and it's not any big deal. If somebody wants to get it, $35.
$35. It took me about 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah.
How many have GMRS license? Hey, oh, wow.
I don't yet.
And if you have an NXDN radio,
Yes.
it is GMRS capable.
Yep.
And also know that there are now 8 frequencies that the FCC has set aside where even under FRS rules, you're allowed to operate up to 2 watts. So if you're programming your radio with those 8 frequencies and you don't have an FR or a GMRS license, you can still go 2 watts on those frequencies. If you've got a GMRS license, 5 watts.
Okay. All right.
Any questions? There you go, Randy.
All right. One more time. Anything from anybody? Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Timothy, KT4WX. If you don't know, I am the president of BCI Communications Amateur Radio Club. And just to let you know, and it has been used by the Area Relations Group here in Hillsborough County. We do have a UHF repeater that is stationed downtown in Tampa on the Regis building. And 442.22, 444.225, 146.2 offset. It's open to anybody for any use. The coverage is pretty much Hillsborough and most of Pinellas County, pretty much the whole Bay Area for the most part. So it's open for whoever and whatever you want to use it for.
Then could you run by that,
Yeah.
I don't know where.
I have a bad day. Okay, it is 444.225 and positive offset.
Okay.
With a 146.2 PL. Yes, yes.
All right. That also reminds me, things keep reminding me of other things. I don't know if any of you are active on SARNet, but and I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anyone, but be very careful about your operating procedures. They are cracking down on things. They are shutting repeaters off because they are being abused. They will shut them down for a period of time as a way of saying, don't do that. Their approach is an approach of education. They try to get the person, the individual who's causing a problem, and talk to them and work with them to get them to realize why they need to be more careful about their operating procedures. But things like properly identifying when you're transmitting, and then the 10-minute interval on IDing and so forth.
They're also getting ready to roll out a usage document. They're working on it right now with the state, just
Good.
waiting on all the signatures to get
Good.
done.
And for those of you who are not aware, you may or may not know John Chappick, KT4WX in Highlands County, who runs a tower company and has considerable background working in electronics and so forth. John has set up a repeater in connection with SARNet. The equipment actually came from SARNet through a source in Tallahassee. It will give a SARNet link in Highlands County into, currently the connection is supposed to go through what I always call Yeehaw Junction. It's mid-turnpike SARNet repeater. That'll fill the hole in the donut for us. Our connection to SARNet is through Lakeland, and I have been told several times, I can get what you're saying, but it's very difficult because it can be a very noisy signal. So we're looking forward to the repeater is up. It's on, I'm not going to tell you frequency. I'll get it wrong. No, it's not 441. I'll get it wrong if I say it though. I'll try to get a word out, an announcement or something, an email to ECs or something. John has that repeater up. It's an operating repeater right now. They need to install the equipment at mid-turnpike, which John can do as a tower climber. He's working with them to be able to install the equipment. And we're really looking forward to that. That's going to fill in a big hole for us and other people. Yes.
Things we've had, what you covered is we have people out there just keying down and punching phone. There's people out there talking on it with no identification.
Yep.
And it's just getting real bad. Last year we had one person that would copy down the weather report from the local TV station, then come over and give it on SARNet. It's one thing like that. It's an observation that people could be interested in. That's a different thing. Or when we get the weather alerts putting in that. It's just bad behavior that people need to be educated.
Yep. I'm curious, how many of you check into the state EOC net on Wednesdays? Okay, I'm a regular check-in on that. I go to our EC and actually put the EC on for that, which is what the intention is. Among other things, it's difficult for me to reach Lakeland from my house, but I have done that also. That's a good thing they've got going there on that net. So, okay, I'm finished, which means we are finished. You are dismissed. That's all, folks.
All righty, we're going to end the stream at this time. Thank you very much for